Hi. Hi, everyone out there in the Nicola Valley and Merritt and other areas throughout Canada and the world. So, welcome to episode 61 of Nicola Valley Talk, a podcast provided by Tourism Nicola Valley, Experience Nicola Valley, and Experience Merritt. Nicola Valley Talk is broadcasted live every Thursday night at 7 p.m. Pacific time from Merritt, British Columbia, Canada. Nicola Valley Talk is part of the 2021 National and Provincial Award winning Experience Nicola Valley program for Best Marketing Program of the Year. Yeah. My name is Tania Stewart. I am your eco blogger with Experience Nicola Valley and your host tonight on Nicola Valley Talk. Tonight, I'm so excited. We talk with Lindsay Pinnegar-Fehr of Tantu Yoga and Retreats. So, it's one of my favorite topics. Yoga has stood the test of time, having been around for more than 5,000 years. It could be few or less. The meaning of yoga is yoke together. It is a combination of activity that requires physical, mental, and breathing. Yoga provides a holistic practice that takes care of body, mind, and soul. The tools and techniques available in yoga helps us take care of our physical health, ease us from stress, improve mental and well-being, which helps with everyday stress and making better lifestyle choices. And I don't know who doesn't need that. So over 15 million people practice this amazing ancient tradition called yoga. So I want to bring in tonight's guest, Lindsay from
Hello.
Tantu Yoga Retreats, who will share with us the many faces of yoga, help answer top yoga questions, and share the many physical, mental benefits that yoga provides. So welcome, Lindsay, to our show.
Hello.
Hi, Lindsay. Welcome. I mean, thank you for coming. And I know you had a busy week, and you just got in last night late, and here you are.
Thank you for having me today.
No problem. It must be that yoga, that keeps
It
you
must
all.
be.
Okay. So we have a big show ahead of us, and so let's get right at it. Lindsay, could you please share a little history about who is Lindsay?
Well, I am Lindsay. I have been doing yoga for just about 20 years. Well, almost 25 years and teaching for about 20 across a wide variety of populations. I also work as a rehab assistant for interior health. I have a casual position at Gillis House where I love my job every day. My husband is Counselor Fair, Travis Fair, who also owns Breathe Bikes here in Merritt. So, yeah, I feel like I'm pretty well rounded at this point. It only took me to 44 to get here, but whatever.
Well, I won't say my age, but I'm still working on where I want to go. Well, Lindsay, and what a great story, and we all know your husband, Travis. What a great guy! He's one of my son's mentors, I guess, when it comes to bikes because he got his bike there and he just loves them. But so for any of the viewers out there who may have heard of yoga but doesn't understand what yoga means and what it is, um, could you share with us what is yoga and the many faces of yoga?
There are many, many kinds of yoga, especially here in the West. Um, and really, what it boils down to is yoga is a practice of one. When you get on your mat, your practice is absolutely individual to you. So it's like I might be standing in the front of the room telling people what pose comes next, but really, it's your practice. And in the West, we've tended to focus quite a bit more on the physical aspect of yoga, which is a great place to start and where most of us need to start with all of kind of our sedentary lifestyle and sedentary kind of jobs. So, hatha yoga is kind of individual poses that you do one at a time. Vinyasa yoga, which I teach, is kind of a flow of poses that go together. And it really kind of becomes a bit of a moving meditation. Yin yoga, which Trish and I also both teach, is kind of a different ball of yoga wax. You get into these poses and then you stay in them for 4 to 8 minutes. So it's It's tough, man. I'm not gonna lie.
And Lindsay, I understand because I love the poses one, and I find them very challenging. I have not stayed in them for 8 minutes, I'll tell you that, but I've done them for 12 minutes in a flow, and that 12 minutes, I am telling you, is the longest 12 minutes of my life sometimes, but it is exhilarating. And also, quickly, could you, like, when people think of yoga, is it a young person? Can children do it? Can pregnant people do it? Can even like 80-year-olds do it or start?
Mhm. Yeah, yoga is really an across the lifespan. And I mean, we have seen amazing things that happen in schools when we bring in even just the physical postures of yoga and kind of the stories behind those postures, which are not necessarily based in any sort of external religious. They're just kind of, the little stories of the poses. And we know that doing yoga through your lifespan gives you better joint mobility, gives you better spine mobility, protects your neck better, heals low back pain. Well, we won't go with heals, but we'll go with helps low back pain. And so, we know that when we get into our older years and arthritis starts kicking in, it's really a use it or lose it. And yoga is a great, gentle way to use it.
And totally using it because I find myself standing up taller and also sitting properly, and and my back doesn't hurt anymore. Well, it does sometimes, but I mean not like it used to from
Mhm.
slouching and stuff like that. And I think it helps you become more aware of your core, which and your body movements and how you're standing and how you're sitting, right?
Very much so. And really what we often say about yoga is, especially the more physical practices, they teach your body to move together as an integrated unit, which is something we kind of forget about, especially if we play a sport when we're younger and we only do one action. So it really does teach your body to work together. And then when you starting on adding on breath work and then moving into meditation, it takes your whole self and makes it a
Mhm.
cohesive unit. And that really is the gift of yoga.
It is, and I thank you. That's a great description of it. And so while Lindsay, you have practiced yoga from an early age, could you share with our viewers your journey and where you're at now and where you began at,
Hmm.
please?
So thank you for calling it a young age. I was like in my 20s. So I went to yoga because I had back pain. I went to yoga because I had back pain, and the doctor was like, and yoga was not then what it is now, even in Vancouver where we were living. And so the doctor's like, I don't know, go do some yoga. So the community center close to where we lived had some yoga classes that happened, and I was so very lucky to get an actual yoga teacher and not a fitness teacher who also teaches yoga, because those are not the same thing. So I
Okay.
was really lucky to get this really fabulous yoga teacher, and honestly, within 3 or 4 classes, my back pain was 1,000 times better. And it wasn't
Wow.
just, getting up and moving. Like, we know that even a little bit of movement helps pain better than no movement.
Mhm.
So even just that little bit of movement, the way that we were moving, the way that we were connecting structures of the body, my back pain got better. Like, and I mean, back pain never gets 100% better, but my back pain got better.
And with saying that your back pain, like I still can feel it, and like when if I move like literally when my legs are going that way and my body's going this way, and it's like ding, but it goes away quicker. and
It very much does.
and we'll get into some of the benefits of a little bit deeper and later on. But so since the beginning of my journey with yoga, which was been in the last half a year and maybe 5 months, I guess, I have come to learn that there are many different types of yoga, such as hatha, which you were talking about a little bit, hatha yoga, Linger, I think I said it wrong, but yoga, hot yoga, which I think is kind of like I wouldn't want to do it. I would die, but restorative and therapeutic yoga and
Yeah,
wall.
and that barely even scratches the surface of yogas. So I will say that most yogas work for someone, right? This is kind of the beauty of yoga, is that, you know, if you happen to be the kind of person who is kind of tight and dry and, you know,
Mm-hmm.
always kind of chilly, hot yoga may be the great thing for you. I can go to about 3 classes before I'm just real mad about everything, but you might really benefit from that. There's Kundalini Yoga, which, you know, puts together a sound, a breath, and an action to create a physiological response in the body. And while there is some controversy about their leader, it
Mm-hmm.
kind of works, right? Iyengar Yoga, very good for detail oriented people. Yeah, like the list, there's, I think at the last kind of count, there was over 100 kinds of recognized yoga in the world, and that's not even counting the weird little side cults that, you know, start up and the little ashrams that nobody really knows about yet, and the stuff that they teach. And then there's also some yoga that has no physical practice. It's just really about service, seva, and that is
Oh,
the whole basis of the practice, is to serve with love. And then there's
oh.
yoga where they just study the ancient texts, and it tends to be a little bit more religious, but they also don't have a physical practice. So there is a kind, like there's a big type and then there's all the little types underneath it. Everyone will find a place there.
No kidding. I didn't realize there was that much. Oh, I better not even go into that because I will get
No,
lost in yoga land.
if I
I'm
turned
gonna,
this around and you could see the bookshelf, it would like, you'd be like, I don't know, I'm not going to go there.
yeah, I'm gonna stick with what I because I so which kind of leads on to my next question is when you're if you haven't done it before with me, I started with beginners healing yoga and then I work myself up. Sometimes I'll do a half an hour with other stuff, and other times I'll do like an hour, and I stretch that out the days because that's really hard and well, it's not hard, it's well, it's strenuous. Well, it's not, I'm not trying to make give the wrong impression. It's a lot of poses that are amazing. And so Lindsay, where would they start, like that has never done yoga before and is may not think they're flexible or something like that?
Well, my half joke is that I come from British peasant stock. Flexibility is not really in my genome, and yet I somehow do it. And we know that there are some health benefits, like a muscle can stretch to 80% of its length without injury in kind of one session. And you keep a little bit of that. A tendon stretches about 12%, and you keep a little bit of that. So over time, flexibility grows and builds, and always starting kind of slow is the way to go. So maybe if you're totally unfamiliar with yoga, you go to a beginner's hatha class so that you can learn about the poses individually and what that looks like. Or maybe you go to what we call a slow flow class, where you have time to kind of be in the pose for a little bit and explore how that feels for you in your body, and to kind of understand whether or not that pose works for you or not, because not every pose works for everybody at all. And so, you know, while we have yoga that will work for everybody, not every pose is for everybody. And that's a really important safety feature to recognize for yourself and be like, yeah, this is not working out.
Well, I do find okay, let me use the crane pose, for example. I'm coming for the crane because I look at that and I'm like, I skip and I do a different pose because I cannot for the life of me. I'm just not strong enough yet, or I'm hoping I can do it, or the handstand. Like, oh, come on, I'd probably never be able to do that unless I was 10 years old again. But and how you said that about like if it's not for you, I mean, not every pose and not everything is for your body, then you do something else, right? And not to feel like it's one of those sports where if you don't do it, you're failing, because you're not failing in any way. It's you're gaining something every time you even get up and do something, right?
Mm-hmm. And another really great thing to mention here is that there's kind of two half jokes here. One is that no, not every pose is for everybody. And this is why yoga invented reincarnation. So we could have another crack at those poses we didn't quite get. And in
That's a
yoga
good one.
we have what's called traditional Ashtanga yoga, where it is 7 series of poses, and you cannot move on to the next pose until you have mastered the previous pose. Well, if you happen to have a short torso and short arms, and you're meant to wrap your arm around your back and take hold of your toe, well, come on, come on. So Vinyasa yoga is kind of the offshoot of that. And I like to joke that it's the quitter's yoga. We're like, we're not working that hard. We're coming to this class. So you absolutely do something else when you find a pose that doesn't work for you. There are, only so many ways to move a muscle. We will find one that works for you.
Exactly. And my luck could be if I get reincarnated, I'll come back as a crane.
You'd be doing that pose all the time.
Oh man, oh wow. So understanding that yoga has many different postures and poses and seated twists, arm balancing, back bends. I love the back bends. Core holds, the list goes on and on, right? And so you've been teaching a little bit here and there. And yoga does help with the digestion and high blood pressure, strength, brain, it calms the brain, gets out brain, was it brain chatter or something, and energize at the same time. So my question, Lindsay, is how do these positions help benefit your body, such as one of my favorites is the downward facing dog pose.
It's funny that you say that's your favorite pose, because eventually in your practice, downward facing dog is meant to be a place of rest. And most people, when I say that, they're like, that is not accurate. That is not, but it really does become a place of kind of introspection, right? Because you're upside down, and you just have all this space in your upper body and in your chest to really feel how wide open your heart can be. Not like physically, obviously, but like this wide open space of the heart. And I see Malvina ask the question here, how does yoga benefit your insides? I'm going to hope she means like guts, because like insides is a whole nother topic of yoga. But the seated twists, they help with the digestion. They help bring circulation into the body. Yin yoga really works on these harder tissues of the body. So as we stretch them out, like a kind of a crusty sponge is the example, as we stretch those out and we wring them out, when we're done, all this new fluid and all this new lymph can come in and rehydrate and heal those tissues. So all the different kind of classes of yoga poses have something they are meant to benefit, and they do, right? Like originally in the earliest yoga texts, there were 12 postures. That was it. There were 12 postures because the practice was meant for meditation. So you were meant to use these practices to be able to sit in meditation for 8 or 10 hours a day. And you can't do that if your back hurts.
No. I guess not. I mean, it's hard to sit or even walk if your back hurts. And with the digestive, I find myself, I don't get bloated, excuse me, as much anymore. And I also, with those poses, why I like that dog downward pose, and how you described it about all that space. That's exactly how I feel. And when I do yoga, Lindsay, I feel like I step through a door into my own universe.
Very much.
Just about me. Is that how a lot of people feel when they're doing it? And you could kind of elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, and I mean, I really do think that's it. And there's kind of this interesting paradox when you're in a yoga class of being in this group of people who are very like-minded for the most part. You all showed up on your mat at this time to be together, and it's this absolutely individual time on your mat where it's like, yes, we are in this group together and we are completely alone. And when you kind of realize that weird paradox, all of a sudden it's like, I kind of imagine it, all these little like strings coming out from everybody's heart, connecting to everybody else's heart. And even though we're not talking, and even though we're not maybe all in the same space in our lives, we are on our mats working together for the betterment of ourselves and our communities.
That's a really neat way of putting it. I love that. So within the last few years, it's been crazy train time, right? With everything going on with COVID, lockdown with COVID, with the shutdowns, with the fires, and anxiety and stress has gone into a higher level amongst everyone, children, adults, seniors, even animals. Um, and suppression and back pain seems to be a major factor because people couldn't get out. They were sitting on the couch more. They weren't exercising, and has escalated to all-time high. So how can, and we touched base on it, and you touched on it very well. How can yoga methods such as meditation and breathing help relieve some of that stress and anxiety while making you feel relaxed and help get rid of that mind chatter? And how important is this to everyone out there, young, old, and medium aged?
Yeah. So kind of the way it works is that if your physical body's a mess and this is a mess, all of this is a big mess because we can't concentrate, right? Our monkey mind is like, whoa, it's freaking out. But here's the interesting thing about our thinking mind, the part that talks to you is actually a very small part of your brain. It's just the loudest. So when we give it another task, like in pranayama, breath work, we're often counting the breath or paying attention in some way to the sensation of the breath. Well, then our monkey mind has nothing to do but shut up, right? Because we have given it a task. When we come to meditation, there are millions of methods of meditation, and it's the same concept, right? We are giving that thinking, talking mind a task so that the rest of our mind can be quiet. And it's often in that quiet where we percolate the information we were looking for, or we percolate the sign that we were looking for, or the question we didn't even know to ask. It's when the monkey shuts its mouth, the rest of the mind has a chance to be heard.
That is such a great explanation. And yet there is a monkey pose too, right?
There is Hanumasan, and it's hilariously one of the best stories in yoga and the freaking hardest pose in yoga. And like,
Yeah.
yoga poses never end, right? So it's like after you're in Hanumasana, which is the front and back splits, after you're in that, you're supposed to be able to bend forward over your front leg and then do a giant back bend over your back leg.
Oh.
Like, how many people can do that? Not many. So we will just appreciate
Mhm.
we will just
Yeah,
appreciate the story of it and then do an easier pose. It
it looks cool, but I
looks
could never do it.
beautiful.
And with so and I just want to quickly put this in. Children could benefit from yoga, right? Like
Very, very much so.
especially they're scared, they're stressed. We don't even, and they show anxiety and stress so differently from us adults, right? And
Mhm.
having children do yoga just to relax would be a great thing, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, well, and there are, even in Canada, there's 4 or 5 kids yoga programs out there now that are doing amazing work in schools. And, not even so much about the physical poses, because,
Mhm.
kids like to do their own thing. So they're kind of all doing the same thing, but it's like completely different from everyone
Yeah.
else. But even just giving them the freedom to explore and not, putting them in these little
Mm.
boxes of rules that,
Oh.
your pose has to look like this, your sound has to be like this. When we give them the freedom to just work it out in their bodies,
Mhm.
their minds become much quieter. And then we give them a tool to help them quiet their mind more. And usually it's just very basic kind of concentration techniques, which is one of the steps of yoga. we talk about it as, sense withdrawal, but really it's just concentrating. And some people, use a candle or a flower or a spot on the floor or the sensation of a mudra in the hands, like the little Zen mudra. So giving them these tools is amazing for them because there are not that many places for them to get those tools.
And that is so true. And that's an awesome explanation and answer, Lindsay. Thank you. And with that, I want to quickly go over what Tantu yoga and retreats. What is that about, Lindsay?
So when I first got into yoga, I thought I was going to call it live yoga because my husband has breathe bikes, live and breathe. We thought we were going there. But then when I really got deeper into my own practice and into my own teaching and what I wanted to teach, it became very clear that I wanted to teach a path to connection. And so Tantu literally means the place where two things meet. So at first I thought, I was envisioning it and I thought it was like a web or like the stars, and the stars were kind of the connection point, like in a constellation. And then it occurred to me that yoga is a ground floor adventure and it's tree roots. And without a strong root system, nothing can grow, right? So Tantu is the place where two things meet. And then the other tenet of my teaching is a Sanskrit word, ad-devate. And ad-devate means one with no other. And it is the truest, simplest, I don't even know what other word to use, of our absolute interconnectedness with everything around us, everything on this planet. And there is one with no other. We can't hurt something without hurting ourselves. We can't love something without loving ourselves. We can't give something without giving it back to ourselves. And so those two things, along with Siva, service, have really shaped what I want to offer in my classes and to myself and my community.
Mm-hmm. And because we have a lot of tourists who travel, I have a niece that comes for almost a month every summer, and she has a hard time getting yoga instructors. Could she call you for some lessons or practice?
Yeah. So recently, I have just about finished the academic portion of my yoga therapy diploma. So as a lot of yoga teachers offer private sessions, but a yoga therapy session is a little bit different because we can take the time to really work on a person's specific goals, whether those are physical, mental, or spiritual. And we can tailor a session for exactly what they need. And even if they don't really need anything, special, sometimes just having a one-on-one session to clarify a pose or to clarify a concept, or because you hate sitting in meditation by yourself, sometimes those things really do make the difference in a practice. Or if you have a compromised immune system and coming to a physical class is not your best option to be in a room with a bunch of other people, I will happily come to you. If you have limited mobility, I will happily come to you. And it's nice now to have this complete spectrum of, having worked with very many populations of people, from adults with trisomy 21 to very, very elderly people, that I got you. I got your back.
Well, that is so neat. So, and I've been putting up your number and your Gmail and your Facebook for anyone out there that would like to get a hold of you. I think it's amazing. And Melva's asking, does yoga help the lactic acid that gathers in the lower back? I guess.
Yeah. So lactic acid is kind of the leftover from when we exercise our muscles. And we've all had the next day after we walked too far or worked out a little too hard and you're like, oh, my bicep. So that's the lactic acid feeling. And, normally if we just move very gently the next day, don't do nothing, that makes it worse. But if we move very gently the next day, it naturally leaves our body's system. The thing about low back pain is, I mean, it is sort of my specialty, and kind of pain itself is my specialty because we're human. We all got pain. So the problem with low back pain is it's actually counterintuitive. We're like, oh, I don't want to move my back. It really hurts. That makes it worse because then the lactic acid doesn't get moved out through the system as quickly as if we had done something. So, even just really gentle forward folds, really gentle back bends, even over the back of the couch, just bringing that movement in, coming back to this sponge analogy, we squeeze out the lactic acid, we squeeze out all the things we don't want, new stuff can come in to help the healing.
That's awesome. And so I was going to ask you these questions, but just say yes to these little quick ones here because we're running into a time, but we can go on. What does a person wear when they work out?
Please don't wear jeans. You will regret it.
So spandexy, comfortable.
Just comfortable. Often sweatpants is what I practice when I'm at home. Something you can freely move in all directions in. Bare feet is preferred. I've seen all kinds of feet. Your feet are not special or different. Bare feet is better. And a good solid non-slip surface. And I hate to put this in, but a better quality yoga mat will serve you in the long run far better than the slippery polyurethane kind.
Yeah, and I agree totally with that. And also, what if a person's not flexible?
Bend your knees.
And you become more flexible as time, right?
You do become more flexible over time. And it's the ability to lay your belly flat on your thighs and touch your toes has nothing to do with your flexibility. It has to do with the shape of your hip bones. So if you happen to have a hip bone that has a low point in the front, you're not going to touch your toes. Give up.
Okay. And what about making time? Where do I fit it in?
Here's the thing about making time. We are so busy. We love to be busy in our Western culture. To be not busy is seen as a sign of failure. So you do have to prioritize your time. And, it's like we can make time for a million different things. We have to prioritize what's important to us.
And it will also help with the muffin top and help lose weight, right?
Yes and no. I mean, if you're going to spend an hour sweating it out on your mat and then you're going to go to Dairy Queen,
yeah.
So it's great for toning muscles. It's great for creating isotonic strength. There's all kinds of things yoga is good for. Unless you're going to hot yoga, it's really hard to keep enough cardio going to actually lose weight.
Okay. But I mean, you can work with because yoga is a more of a least injury. So if you want to do a little bit of aerobics or Pilates, that can help with the losing of the weight.
Oh, definitely. And I mean, yoga is definitely going to help you tone your muscles, but you're not going to get a huge cardio workout from it.
Yeah. Okay. So Lindsay, so I believe that you've had the opportunity to familiar yourself and with our award-winning Experience Nicola Valley program. So my question is to you, how important do you think programs like this, Experience Nicola Valley, are to Merritt on a local, provincial, and international stage?
Oh, that's a tough one because, I'm familiar with Tourism Nicola Valley and all of these because of Travis. So I do think that having people in your community talk about your community is very important because, I mean, when I sit in Travis's shop, even for 20 minutes, especially in the summer, I tell every single person I know about the 2 swimming spots on the river. Okay. Watch out for baby snakes at the second one because they're cute, but you don't want to swim with them. And when we rent out the paddle boards and people say, where should I go? I always say go to Kentucky Aileen because it's so beautiful. And, you know, we are really lucky here. Like Merritt itself maybe doesn't look like so much, but we are surrounded by some of the most beautiful wildlife, wild land in Canada. And it's really nice to have people who know those secret spots talking about them in a really public way.
And exactly, and I mean, and that's what we need to do is to boost our community. And when we talk about the great things about it, more comes out about it. I find when I'm talking about the downtown, I end up thinking about other places that tourists can go to visitors to go to. Hey, how about this? Go see Groot. What, you got Groot? Yeah, down at the Rotary Park. You know, and
Yep,
then you
and our
also
splash park is darn good.
yes, and then have a hamburger there, and then there's a playground, and then all these things lead into another, and we have such huge amazing things here in this community. And with a program like this, we get to meet people and show the face to the name, to the store, to what. And like with you, I knew you were around, but I did not have a face to the name, right? And now
Mhm.
people will know and see that. And it just the benefits for our community is great. So, and I want to thank you so much for coming on. I could talk for hours about yoga, and as you probably could too. And yeah, if you want to stick around, we can chit chat a little bit more for yoga. And again, everyone out there, here's Lindsay's Gmail, okay, and her Facebook, if facebook.com at Tantu Yoga, and her number is 780-678-0163, and that is Lindsay. And call her and get her busy with yoga. Get yourself busy with yoga. And I want to close out with you is with namaste,
Namaste.
which means Lindsay.
It means I see you, dude. I see you.
I love that. Okay, so stick around and I'll talk to you in a little bit.
Yeah,
Okay.
totally.
Thank you, Lindsay. What a great show, I tell you. I cannot say enough about yoga. I literally love it, and I'm going to be doing it until I'm dead. I'm sure, and then I'll be reincarnated into a crane because I'll never be able to do the crane position. So I want to thank you, Lindsay, again from Tantu Yoga Retreats for joining us tonight. Please continue to spread the word that we are the preferred choice for locals and travelers for tourism and economic development. Also, please follow and share and comment on our Experience Nicola Valley Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and or YouTube page. Make sure to tune in next week, September 30th, when Tom Reynolds, host of Off the Clock City Talk with counselors Malvina White and Tony Luck. Remember, every Thursday, join us, same time, same place at 7 p.m. Pacific time, right here on the Nicola Valley Talk. Thank you for watching tonight. And as Mary Glover once said, for me, yoga is not just a workout, it's about working on yourself. So, again, my name is Tania Stewart. I am your eco blogger on Experience Nicola Valley and your host on Nicola Valley Talk. And remember, reduce, reuse, recycle, and rethink because merit matters. And thank you again, and good night.